Ooh, what up chaps, I'm MagicalMike, and I think we should talk about Heart of Thorns. You're gonna have to forgive my lack of energy first off, because I've been reading opinions all over Reddit and Twitter all night. It's 4 AM right now, and my eyes hurt. I haven't talked about the expansion in a video for a very long time, because no news has come out that I've been particularly interested in. However, there is a big topic right now, and it is pre-purchasing. Now, this is a damn minefield, and I feel like I'm walking through that minefield wearing a bucket on my head and flippers on my feet by even mentioning it. So, here we go. Yes, we can now pre-purchase the expansion, and we have the prices for each edition along with what these packages will contain. There's a massive discussion to be had here about several different issues, so bear with me because I think this is gonna be quite a long video. I do think that it was too soon to reveal this information, the price points of each of these editions, and that they only did so that they had something big to end E3 on, since, in my opinion, guild halls were a little bit underwhelming and they needed a big sort of boom, hype announcement, and I don't think this was a great idea for what they should have said. Now, there are a number of issues that people have right now. The price of the expansion is on the upper end of what most people expected. The standard edition does not come with a character slot. Veterans feel like they're being ignored in favour of new players again. The deluxe and ultimate editions of the expansion do not look like the extra items are worth the increased price. There is still no release date. The base game is bundled in with the expansion and labelled as free. We don't know how much content Heart of Thorns will actually include. We don't know anything about challenging group content still. And there is currently no incentive to pay for any of these packages as of right now. Okay, so these are the issues that I've seen so far, and I will tell you my opinions up front so that you know where I stand as I talk about these topics. Right now, I am not going to purchase this expansion. I don't have enough information with which to decide if the price tag is worth it or not, so it is much safer for me to just wait. I do not mind that they are including the base game with the expansion for new accounts. I am unhappy with the high price tag, and I am disappointed with the lack of character slot in the standard edition. I am not partnered with ArenaNet in any way, and there is no reason for me to suck up to them. Hopefully you understand where I'm coming from now, and now I can talk about the issues and my own opinions. But first, I absolutely have to say that I want to stick up for Wooden Potatoes this one time. If you know who I am, then you know I don't see eye to eye with him, so I think that what I'm about to say holds at least a little bit of weight. His video has a lot of valid opinions, yet he is taking a lot of flack from people in the comments. There is a large number of people attacking him for saying one thing, and not even listening to the rest of his video. I think that this is completely ridiculous and unfair, and people calling him out are part of the problem currently. Obviously he has some bias towards the game and the company, but in this instance he calls ANET's mistakes out, and he sides with us, the consumer, over the company and his partnership with them. So please at least be respectful to each other about all of this. Okay, so first let's look at the prices of things. For me, the standard edition is £35, the deluxe is £60 and the ultimate is £80. I honestly expected the standard edition to be somewhere between £30 and £35, so this is the upper limit of what I thought, but it is still what I thought. However, I might be willing to spend that once I know how much content the expansion has. We still haven't even seen all of Verdant Brink, the first map, and it's too early to make that decision yet. The deluxe and ultimate bonuses just don't seem worth it at all to me. I don't care for the title, I don't care for the mini, a finisher, a glider skin or some Guildhall decorations, nor do I care to buy 4,000 gems that I don't even know if I'll want to spend them on anything. However, the lack of a character slot as standard is a big point of contention for me. This also ties into the issues caused by them bundling the base game into the base purchase too. A lot of the complaints that people have boil down to it not being fair that new players get more value out of their purchase than current players do. By adding a character slot in for people who already own the game, the problem still isn't solved, because then the new players also don't get that thing either. There's a difference, and it's odd. Another part of the problem here is that the base game still has a value, be it $10 of £5 of 50 groats, whatever. In this bundle, that value is being ignored, and the expansion is being priced quite highly. It may or may not be the case, but it feels like the expansion is priced so highly because it includes the value of the original game. This leads to people feeling like they're being cheated somehow. I think if they hadn't included the base game and forced people to pay for that as well, then people would have been more receptive to this deal, despite that being forcing them to pay more money. Current players that are upgrading to Heart of Thorns do not feel compensated for this wasted value. Personally, I think that bundling the original game in is a great idea. However, I also feel like they should throw an extra character slot in as well for new and current players alike. If the base game truly is free, then a character slot should come standard for both types of players. So why am I and so many other players hung up on this character slot? We could just go and farm gold and buy one right now, right? Sure, but the problem here is that a major feature of HoT is the Revenant, this new profession. They are selling us this profession, but they aren't including the means for most people to play it without having to do additional work or deleting a character to make room for it. This is like batteries not included, or selling us a knife and fork at a restaurant as an extra. Yeah, we could use our hands, but we expect to be treated better than that. Where's the goodwill for the consumer? Also, just to compare this situation to Guild Wars 1, all of the campaigns that added new professions also added an equal amount of character slots to allow for people to play those professions. It just makes sense. The other main thing to talk about here is the value of the expansion. They've priced it at $50 or £35 for me for the standard edition. And from what we currently know, and I mean facts guys, not wild expectations, we are 100% sure that what we have currently seen is not worth that price tag. So let's just go over what we currently have seen so that we are all clear what I'm talking about. Heart of Thorns will include these exclusive things: the Revenant, some new PvE maps of unknown number or size, guild halls, 9 elite specializations, masteries, some new story, and unknown challenging group content. Does this sound like $50 or £35 of content to you? This is entirely subjective and up to each individual person, but for me personally, it does not sound worth when compared to the base Guild Wars 2 game. There are also other things that we get access to without actually spending money on HoT, including regular specializations, Stronghold, and the new World v World Borderlands. These are things that essentially are not included in the price tag of the expansion because they come into the base game, so they should not be factored into that £35 price tag. This essentially dilutes the expansion's content even more. But the main massive problem here is that they have not shown us enough stuff, enough content as of yet to justify that price. People are just assuming that they will get enough value out of this expansion, and trust for me is not a selling point. There's also a huge White Knight argument going around that we got tons of value out of the original game, therefore we shouldn't be annoyed about having to pay so much for Heart of Thorns. And this makes no sense to me. So let me try and give you this metaphor as an example. Let's say I go out and buy a DVD of The Matrix. It's an excellent film, loved it. I paid 10 quid for it, and I watch it 100 times because it is so good. So I got a lot of value out of that, we can all agree. Then The Matrix Reloaded comes out, and they ask 50 quid for this DVD. And the reason for that is because we got so much out of the original Matrix. Does that make sense to you? No? Exactly. Why should we be paying more for a new product, Heart of Thorns or The Matrix Reloaded, just because people feel guilty about getting so much out of the first one? Maybe that's a terrible metaphor or argument, but that is at least how I feel. I want to judge the price of Heart of Thorns based on its own merits, not the merits of its predecessor. And on that we will have to wait. Personally, I need to be shown a lot more of what content we're going to get if I'm going to buy the expansion. I fear that it's going to be incredibly small, and that a lot of the PvE stuff we get will be dull after playing very little of it. I don't think that this is entitlement, I just expect an MMO to offer some replayability, and since we know nothing about challenging group content yet, I think I have some valid worries. And really, that's it. The main point to take away from all of this huge mess of PR and backlash on Reddit is that pre-purchasing is a risk, and whether you agree with me or think that I'm a complete moron, you should absolutely get as much information as possible before spending your money. There is currently zero incentive to pay for Heart of Thorns right now. We don't have a release date, and we don't get any mind-blowing bonuses that we'd miss out on if we waited. This isn't like reserving a limited release physical item. There is no rush. So hold your horses, do your research, and wait until you're absolutely sure. Hopefully I haven't completely wasted your time with this video, and I've even shed some light on the situation. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, because I am invested in this topic, and I think it is a hugely important one that we need to talk through. Thank you very much for watching, and please keep calm and carry on.